Thank you for coming out. How many people know what a treatment is? Okay, so we're starting from there. Got it. I've been shooting for over a decade and a half. I shoot a bunch of commercial work, advertising, a bunch of like liquor campaigns, celebrity stuff like that. It was 10 years into my career before I had to write a treatment. So some of you might be asking, like, what is this even about? On a macro sense, it's about us as photographers and artists talking about our work. I think that instinctively we are all really, really bad at talking about our work, like what we do. We're not objective about it. We love our photographs, you know, and what I want to do here today is talk about how we express ideas to the people who hopefully will be paying us a bunch of money. A treatment gets mixed up with a couple things. Treatments get mixed up with pitches, mood boards. There are three different things. So a pitch is basically what I want to do. I go to company, you know, let's say Pepsi, and I say, hey, Pepsi, here's my pitch for a campaign. I think that this would be great for you, right? A mood board is basically how it feels. It's like, and we've all done them. We all have Pinterest pages. We all have inspiration folders. And it's based on, hey, this is the color palette that I'm talking about. This is kind of like the vibe that I'm going for. Both a pitch and a mood board is not a treatment. A treatment is not only how it's done, but how I would do it. So I have some examples of treatments that I've done. I've got some other photographers' treatments, but it's basically a plan of action. A treatment cannot exist without a phone call with the client. There is no way that you will make a treatment for a client without first speaking to the client. The treatment is a response to the client's wants and needs. The treatment says, here is my way of attacking this particular problem that we have spoken about on this phone call. Treatment is a statement of intent. It's a roadmap of execution. Treatment is how you will artistically execute the shoot based on information on the call. This is what we just spoke about. The treatments will be used by the clients to judge you against other photographers. So for instance, usually what happens is there is a phone call that comes in from a client. We get on a conference call. The client says, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And I say, okay, cool. I get what you're trying to accomplish. Give me a couple days. I'm going to come up with my plan of attack. During that time, I am not the only photographer that this client is talking to. It's usually what's called like a triple bid, something like that. So it's 3 photographers, so 3 conference calls, and 3 treatments. The client will judge, like the treatment is a really big part of what the client judges you on to see if you get the job or not. The treatment is, it has to be a complete document that is able to exist if you are not there. It says, I, Kareem Black, or I fill in your name. This is my plan of attack from A to B to C and how I see the shoot going. Since the time that I was about 6 or 7, I'm dyslexic, I have bad grammar, I have bad spelling, and my mother, who is the example of everything good in this life, has helped me out with my essays. We write treatments together. I put my, like when I write the text, she like corrects it and like gives me like sort of insights. She's not an artistic person, but it's good for me to get her insights as a non-artistic person talking about my work. I think that it's really important to have another person's eyes on your treatment. For this presentation today, I consulted my mom, and of course, being the saint that she is, she went out of her way and produced a whole, like, what's it called? Like a PowerPoint presentation. And so this is, I'm I'm going to include my mom's stuff. Like after I told her and we went over the outline, she puts together this whole PowerPoint. This is my mom's PowerPoint. Like these are my words, but my mom's finding all of these stock images, whatever. Like when you see my work, like you'll know it's nothing like this. But like I thought it was really funny to have this work in here as an example of my mom helping me out. And like, again, I do think that when we are writing treatments and when we are talking about our own work, it's so important to have somebody, another set of eyes on what we're doing. And it helps me, not just from a spelling and grammar standpoint, but from a standpoint of like having somebody who's not a artist, like look at these words, like like a lot of times photographers can start to speak in shorthand and the general public doesn't understand what we're talking about. So it helps to have like a pair of eyes that's not artistic and be like, okay, cool, like this doesn't make sense, this makes sense. What comes before a treatment? Your agent has gotten you, okay, don't pay attention to that. The treatment depends on the call. Treatment is based off of a conversation you have with the client. During this conversation, it is essential to ask questions. I think that when I started out, a client would come to me and I would just be like, okay, cool. I see okay, cool. Yeah, we can definitely do that. And I think that in most jobs, the people who are hiring other people are like, this is what you do, and then you kind of do it. But when you're writing a treatment and you're on the call, it is essential that you ask questions. One, because it says you are interested in what's happening here, but also it's like the call is the chance for you to get the information about what the client is actually trying to do. So, and the better that you understand what the client's trying to do, the more accurate the treatment will be that you present to them. You're asking questions such as, what's your vision for the project? What messages are you trying to convey? What audience are you trying to reach? This sort of things. Like, I think that my plan of attack when I'm on the conference call is like, you're asking these macro questions and then you're getting into more technical questions. How many days are we shooting? What you're going to try not to do is talk about like money. We're not talking about budget generally. Like the conversations, the nitty-gritty conversations about money and budget are being talked about elsewhere. I hate being the good cop and the bad cop. I hate being the person who talks about money and then does the shoot, because then you're on the shoot with the people that you're just arguing with about money. It's a bad vibe. It's a bad look. But while you're on this call, you're getting all of this information so that you can make a more accurate treatment. Again, this is my mom's masterpiece. You want to leave the client knowing that this is not your first rodeo. There are verbal tricks that all photographers sort of employ. Like every photographer has a different style of like handling a call or like writing a treatment. What I do a lot is say, when I encountered this problem on a previous shoot, this is how we solved it. And it's basically me saying, this is not my first time doing this. Like when you're on the call, the client, you're trying to identify the client's problems that they're trying to solve so that you can be like, I see what you're talking about. When I did this before, this is how I solved it. Like I'm on the call, I'm telling you that I'm understanding what you're saying and I have experience with the problems that you're presenting. You know what you're doing and you're good at it. You're a born problem solver. My mom's, she's sort of embellishing some stuff here, but you get the point. I definitely, like part of what I do on a call is like, here's my crew, this person, there's a great stylist. We've done this shoot together before. I think that he or she would be great for this shoot. Here is this producer, location scout. You're starting to instill confidence in the client on the call. Like that's the start of all of this is a call. The start of all of this is a call. You are pitching yourself as somebody who's capable, honest, like from the first sentence on the call. On time and on budget. Ooh, that's important. On time and on budget. is important. We're not talking about the granular aspects of money, but we are talking about, hi, I understand that we have a certain amount of money, and I realize that's important to you, that we're not going over budget. We're not going over time. Like, these are all the verbal tricks that you're talking about on the call. I understand that we're trying not to break the bank or break whatever budget is. Never ask about money. I don't know where people, like, where did she get this? That's so weird. Like I started to say earlier, I think that the call itself is just not a place. The call is an exchange of me getting information about what you guys are trying to do with this campaign. The call is not sort of granular aspects of just money. It's just, it's a different call. And the people on this conference call are probably not the money people anyway. Like, you're on there as a creative and you're talking to other creatives generally on a call. I can't emphasize this enough, how important it is to ask questions and how it can knock you out of the running if you don't ask questions on the call. One, the questions on the call help you have a better treatment. Two, it makes a client realize that you are inquisitive and you're interested about what they're doing. And I know photographers who have lost jobs by not asking questions on the call, because it seems like you don't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? You're just not that into it. I think that after all of that happens, like usually at the end of the call, they're like, do you have any more questions? Yes, whatever questions they have. And then sometimes it's like, do you have any questions for me as a photographer? These are these verbal tricks and cues that we sort of give the client. We are engaged, this sort of thing. I think that at the end of the call, thanks so much for contacting me. I'll be sending a treatment in the next 48 hours. I don't know about that, but like, give me a weekend, This is an example of my favorite treatment that I've done. This is from 2018. It's probably the biggest job I've ever done. It's for Viacom, which at the time was MTV, BT, VH1, Cartoon Network. Viacom was the parent umbrella company of all of these entities. And the concept was, for each entity, imagine a house party, and for each entity, MTV had a room at this house, VH1 had a room at this house, Cartoon Network had a room at this house. It's all one party. And in each room, there is a celebrity from each property. So this is the information that's being given to me on the call. We've got a giant house party. In the MTV room, maybe there's Trevor Noah. In this room, there's that person, whatever. And it's supposed to be a raucous party environment. I kind of think it's a faux pas to use other people's pictures in your treatment unless otherwise stated. I don't know, I think it looks bad. You know what I mean? I think it's bad form. There's a reason why the clients are calling you. So why not put your own work in it? All the work that I put in this is all my work. And is the vibe of based on the call? We're gonna go over sort of the anatomy of the treatment, like what needs to sort of, just how one is built, and some of the political and verbal flourishes that I use. Verbal tactics on the call and in the treatment. My first sentence is, thank you very much for considering me. Like, if you watch any interview, like you watch like MSNBC or like a news show or something like that, when they have somebody on, they will always say, thank you for having me on the show. Like, it's just something like, hey, I appreciate this. It sounds little, but it's major. It's major. Hey, I appreciate this. Hey, I'm excited about this. Thank you for considering for 2017 Viacom trade campaign. I am talking about how excited I am here. I think we could put together a truly phenomenal production. I want to take a few moments to jot down a few of my thoughts on the project. Again, this is my photograph. This is the vibe of what they were talking about on the call. The first thing that I try to do in my treatments is my interpretation of what they've told me on the call. You know what I mean? So it's like, here's how I understand it. This is the scope of the overall campaign. This is a very macro, this is how I see it, right? Real spontaneous energy. It cannot appear to be staged. There's no place for static posed models or moments that look manufactured. This is wording that would be different if I was shooting a still life campaign or whatever. This is something that cannot be sort of like cut and pasted. This is very particular to this campaign, what they're trying to do. But the thought behind it is, I've heard you, and this is how I interpret it, and this is my this is my take on it. Another verbal flourish that I try to do is remind them why they've called me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. Here's my view of this campaign. My artistic strength is in capturing authentic moments and energy, and this project will be no different. We'll be shooting a campaign where we depict a party that features on-air talent, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. This is still me explaining to them, like, you know what? Imagine Miley Cyrus crowd surfing in a living room while Rita Ora, accompanied by a bevy of models, DJs the party in the kitchen. This is something that didn't happen in the campaign, but the vibe of it, like I'm trying to paint a little picture like, okay, cool. This might not happen, but this is the energy that we're talking about. And again, I think that treatments are all about the energy, and it's like, not only am I trying to portray the energy in the words, but I'm trying to portray the energy in the design elements that are happening in the treatment, and also the images that are, again, all mine, that are like, that make sense with the project that they're trying to accomplish. Anatomy of a treatment. What do we do to bring the treatment from A to B to C to conclusion? So, introduction. Hey, thank you very much. 2, this is my overall, this is how I interpret it. But 3, it's like, how are we going to do this? Like, this is a shoot. Like, this shoot was like 2.5 weeks between New York and LA, and a bunch of talent and dozens of extras. Like, how do we make this happen, right? So step 3 is the how. Step 2, I think, is more of the what. This is the how. How do we make this happen? On each shoot, this part of it will be different, obviously, because it's a different shoot. But I think that what's important is to be like, okay, I recognize that there is a certain budget, there's a certain schedule. As has been the case in many of my recent campaigns, there's a still component. What I'm trying to explain here is stills, which is me, is going to be shooting alongside video, which is probably 80% of my jobs right now, is like, I'm shooting stills and then there's a video team. What I'm trying to tell them here is we need to, timing and communication is important between stills and video. There's a choreography to all of this. People need to be in a certain place at a certain time before we start to, oh, here we go. Lack of this choreography can stall a shoot and explode a budget. Again, I'm trying to tell them, I know you guys are spending money here. I'm conscious of this. We're trying to have the right choreography so that we don't go over time, over budget. The subtext here is me saying, I've done this before. This is how I've done it in the past. This is what I found is important in these sort of mixed shoot scenarios. How do we make this happen? As still photographer, I always coordinate with first AD and DP and also the director so that both teams are able to work together seamlessly. I end up using the word seamlessly a lot. There's these like buzzwords that they like, you know what I mean? My producer coordinates with other producers on set to make sure that people, blah, blah, blah. I've done this before. We obviously need to source a location and can accommodate both teams, still in video. I think that it's important that in the treatment, we are not saying we're not getting too particular. You know, we're saying that we need a studio that can accommodate both teams, but we're not saying we need to shoot at Pier 59 or LR2 between this time and this time. Like a treatment, it's not that, it doesn't need to be that sort of particular because we're not at that stage in the production. It's saying, hey, this is what we need to accomplish. We need a studio that can accommodate that, and here's how that might go. 2, discipline. We're not talking about the what, we're talking about the how. The shoot's about energy and moments. Oh, this is important. I don't know how many of you do sort of stuff like this. I love this stuff. This is like a Malibu campaign that I shot in like Portugal or something. I forget, but like a lot of the work that I do is about like sort of like this energy, and like the vibes on set are really like, it behooves me. I said that in the last lecture, behooves. I like that, behooves. It behooves me to have everybody that's in front of the camera having a time of their lives. But everybody who's behind the camera recognizes that we're on a schedule. You know what I mean? And part of what I try to explain to the people who are hiring me is like, look, this shoot looks really fun. Like, it looks like there's a lot of random shit going on, but we need to be disciplined. Like, I think this is me saying, I understand it's going to be a wild shoot, but we're there to work, basically. The shoot is all about energy and moments that look spontaneous and unposed, but we have to be organized. This is something that the client loves to hear. We'll need a shot list that corresponds with the aforementioned schedule. Shot lists are very, very important, not just for the call, but just on any shoot where you start to organize the day by, this is after the treatment, but like you have a shot list in 8 hours. Okay, cool. Now we can start to think about which shots happen when, and we start to build the day out. I'll direct the characters so the interactions look authentic, but I'll always be open to inspiration and improvisation where time allows. Sometimes these unplanned moments are genuinely amazing! Exclamation point. Again, very particular to the shoot, but what I'm saying is there are crowd surfing scenes on this shoot. We need to allocate time for those scenes and allocate space in the studio for those scenes. Clients always ask us, like, how do we do what we do? You know what I mean? This is such a weird question because we're art, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I take pictures that, like, I get a feeling. You know what I mean? Like, we're photographers, right? We're artists. So it's like, clients always, how do you get these pictures? And it took me a really long time to sort of create a lexicon? Well, whatever, words to actually put into, to be able to put into words like, hey, this is how I see it, this is what this is, that are digestible to a potential client. Our clients aren't creative people, that's why they hire us. So we need to sort of like translate our vision to them. So it's like creating a look and feel, and sometimes it comes as a bullet point kind of thing. We need to be clear about what the party is. This could be done in multiple different phraseology, depending on the shoot, but it's basically like, the shoot is this. The party is tremendous, fun, upbeat energy. The party is loud moments, but also quiet moments. The party is crowd surfing. This is what the party is. This is what the scene is. We need to be clear about what the party isn't, or what the shoot isn't. Like, take out party. Like, we're talking about party in the context of this shoot, but in your treatment, it's like, this is what the shoot is, this is what the shoot isn't. It's not a frat party. People having fun but are not drunk or irreverent. When you end up shooting liquor campaigns, it's important that the people end up not looking drunk. That's bad for a liquor campaign. And it's good for me as a photographer to tell the client that I realize that we want people to look like they're having a time of their lives. It's a great party, but there's nobody passed out on the floor or something like that. This is something that I think I mean, I don't think it's unique to me, but what I'm trying to express here is that details are important. if you've seen my work, I love this shit. I love these little sort of, you guys know what environmental portraits are? So it's like, you take a picture of somebody in their home or in their studio. I think that when you do that, the space around the person says a lot about the person. You know what I'm saying? Like it tells part of the story. Same thing with little details in shots. And this is me trying to tell the client, like, look, you know what? We could be shooting Trevor Noah in, breakdancing or whatever, and that's great. But these little details, I think, really help to tell the story. Like the spilled Pepsi bottle or whatever. Like, it tells a story about the party. And this is me trying to tell them that I think that that's important. And I hope that little unique tidbit is something that helps put my treatment in front of the other photographers' treatments. I want those little details, not just about the celebrity stuff. Like, it's not just about like the house. It's like, this is my own personal addition to what this project is. I consider the house to be a character as well. The house is not immaculate. It's not a wreck. Small visual cues matter here. A spilled drink, confetti spewed about. I mean, this is me. I want that shit in all of my pictures. You know what I mean? I like that sort of, I don't like shit looking perfect. And this is me telling the client imperfection can help build part of the story. And maybe the next photographer, spoiler, I got the job, but maybe the other photographers that did it didn't put in that little tidbit. They probably put in tidbits of their own that might not have been as appealing to whatever client. This is still me. This is me reiterating. This is me coming back to sort of point two as far as the what. This is me starting to wrap up the treatment. We've done sort of the how, the what, and some of the details. And now I'm coming back to like, look, partygoers are having a really good time. Some moments are loud and a few are quiet. This is me sort of coming back to, circling back. This is how I see this party. These are a few of my initial thoughts regarding process and plan of attack based on our earlier conversations. Thank you again for considering me for the project. I'm really looking forward to make this concept come to life. Come to life. For some reason, they love that shit. They love that sort of like, I'm making your project come to life. There's something about that wording. I don't know what it is, but they like that. The other thing that I think that is instructive here is for us as the photographers and as creatives, we must understand that the concept that comes from the client to us is something that people have worked really hard on. You know what I mean? Like the people that you're on the call with, someone thought that this was a really fucking good idea. You know what I mean? And I think that a big mistake that some people make is to say, oh yeah, that's easy. Like on the call, like that, it's easy. It was like somebody put their blood, sweat, and tears into the concept that you're trying to make come to life. And I think that that's another verbal flourish where it's like, you certainly can't be like, oh, this concept is dumb or whatever. But like, I would never say like, oh, this concept's easy. I got this. It's insulting to somebody who spent a lot of time bringing this to you, So things like, I'm really looking forward to making this concept come to life, or I think that this sounds absolutely amazing. Those sort of complimentary things are, for the call, So this is sort of optional. Like sometimes I include a bio, sometimes I don't. For this particular project, I did. And I was a much younger person here. I feel like I would have done this. Like if this job came to me today, I probably would have done something different. I'm holding like a vodka soda. Like it's like, don't do that. You know what I mean? But my strategy here was like, look, this is a raucous sort of, the concept is raucous, right? So I want to put, kind of like a raucous, like, kind of a fun photo of myself, in here. And like, and I'm sort of playing this up even like right here. It's like, a truly great house party has a bunch of shit going on, and so does Viacom. Like, I wouldn't write that today, you know, but at the time and for the vibe that they were going for, I thought that this went with that, you know what I mean? A bio, like I was saying, a bio is optional. You don't have to do it. I kind of like doing it because I hope that my story is kind of interesting, and you know, I get to tell some jokes and like actually like do a client list. But bio's totally not, you know. And then, but what is not optional is, again, thank you for your consideration, and then contact info. This is another treatment I did. This is an example of what absolutely not to do. This is a horrible treatment. Words too wordy. Yeah, this is a horribly boring treatment. And I'm violating rules that I'm telling you, these aren't my pictures. I don't think I got this job. This is my example of a bad treatment. This is a treatment that I did for the Warriors. I'd shot them before, and obviously these are my pictures of the Warriors, and then they had a new campaign that they wanted to do called Make 'Em Look. I actually did not get this job, which is like, just shot for you guys, whatever. I think that what's important here, what's instructive, is in most of my treatments, I will try to, and I think that most photographers try to incorporate design elements from the client. Like, okay, cool, Golden State Warriors. Like, we're using their logo, we're using their color scheme. Do you know what I mean? Like, for whatever reason, I hope that in the client's eyes, it sort of helps them get used to seeing your pictures alongside their stuff. If you take the time out to read this, you'll find that it follows the same basic anatomy of the Viacom treatment. Hey, thank you. Hey, this is how we're going to do this thing. Here's my approach. This is a treatment, I'll send it to you guys, which was super interesting. This is not my treatment. It's photographer Greg Delves. A friend of mine at BBDO ad agency sent me this treatment. And it's just interesting to see other photographers' approaches, but I think that you'll notice that we are talking about, thank you for considering me for this project. We're talking about, I have taken in and digested what we spoke about on the call. Here's my approach. I'm not going to go through all of the details, but the anatomy is very, very similar. Hi, thank you. This is how I interpret it. This is what I think we should do. Here are my considerations that make me unique. There's my unique vision here about accomplishing this project. I would not have done this particular part. He ends it, shoot considerations, and then just pictures? I don't know. I wouldn't have done that. Feels abrupt to me. Do you know what I mean? For the video, we're going to do this. Here's some shoot considerations and some pictures. Doesn't make any, I don't know, I wouldn't do that. Thanks, and see you soon. And no contact. Who am I to say what's right or wrong? I can tell you how I do my treatments. You get 10 photographers together, you have 10 different treatments. Everybody approaches it differently. I would not have finished that treatment like that. This is another photographer's treatment for FedEx. Again, she is using a photographer, Alexandra Kinko. She's shooting for FedEx, and again, she's using the FedEx branding and color scheme. Introduction. First things first. Thank you for the opportunity. This shit goes a long way. I don't know how I feel about this. I think that it is redundant to say after the introduction, say, here's some of my work. I feel like they probably know your work. They called you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's redundant to make another introduction. I also think that this design, I don't know what she's doing, but, because you can't, it's like visual approach goes over the print. What's instructive, though, is I think that We're talking about the same anatomy, you know, more or less, you know, hello, thank you. Here's sort of overall approach. Here's how we're going to do it. Get a little bit more detailed with lighting. Here's motion ideas. Thanks and see you soon. I think that one, I mean, again, I would have changed a little bit if it was me. But that's sort of, I hope that you guys find it instructive seeing my treatments, other photographers' treatments, and just getting sort of the anatomy of what's going on and realizing why treatments are important. On, like I said, on a certain level, it is photographers learning how to talk about our work to people who are not creative and sell ourselves and create and communicate our ideas just to people who don't speak our language, you know? And that's basically everything I have to show you. If you have any questions, I do have some notes over here, but I think I covered just about everything. I feel like, does anybody have any questions? Thank you guys. Listen, it's Sunday. Like, thank you guys for coming out and like spending time. Like, I realize y'all could have been doing much more fun than listen to me talk. So I appreciate it.